going on, everybody? My name is Zero, and it's about time for me to release my spoiler review for Spider-Man No Way Home. I have given you all enough time to go watch the movie. It has been, I believe, 5 or so days, or I could be wrong, but it has been a good amount of time for everybody to catch the film Spider-Man No Way Home. And now I'm going to be talking about my favorite parts of the movie, the spoiler parts of the movie. Now, first and foremost, the main thing to get out of the way, yes, all of the rumors were true about these characters returning and reprising their roles from their own Spider-Man films. We have Andrew Garfield returning from the Amazing Spider-Man films as his version of Peter Parker and Spider-Man, along with Tobey Maguire, the OG from the Sam Raimi trilogy, as his Peter Parker and Spider-Man. When they showed up on screen, it was just fantastic, and the way that I can't even get my words together. The way that they made them show up with Ned, having magical abilities, opening up one of those, using the sling ring to open up a portal, asking, "Show me Peter Parker, bring me Peter Parker, bring Peter Parker to us," and it brought along first the version of Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker, brought his Spider-Man to Ned and to MJ. But as soon as that portal opens up, you just see those big eyes, the eyes that they gave him in the Amazing Spider-Man Part 2 with that awesome costume. You just see those eyes down in an alleyway, and then he starts running towards the screen, and then the energy in the theater was building up. As soon as he jumped out of the portal and he took off his mask, everybody was applauding and cheering, and I was just waiting like, okay, if this is the excitement level that this theater is showing for Andrew's Spider-Man, I can't wait to see the excitement level for Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. So then after Andrew shows his introduction and they have the funny jokes going along with him trying to prove that he is Peter Parker, that he is Spider-Man but from another universe, Ned tries again to bring their Peter Parker to them, but he ends up opening another portal, and from the shadows emerges Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. And right there is when I lost it. I was sitting in the theater with my family and my girlfriend, and they saw me fanboying, just being overexcited, and the whole theater was cheering with a bunch of Tobey Maguire Spider-Man fans, just Spider-Man fans in general. It was fantastic, and I loved every moment of it, and I wish that I can relive this experience over and over again every time I watch this film. Speaking about rewatching this film, I am releasing this video out now because I just saw Spider-Man No Way Home for a second time because the Alamo Drafthouse, my favorite theater, opened up again, and I'm so happy about that. But yes, I saw this film a second time, and I just can't get over the fact that we have all three Spider-Men in one movie for this movie right here. Not one Spider-Man outshined the other, but you can feel the importance of each of their characters and the importance of their movies. And since these Spider-Men are now in the MCU, this basically makes Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 1, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1, the first MCU movie ever. Now, I know that there's a lot of things that I want to talk about in this film, but there's just so much that I cannot squeeze all of it into the video that I want to create here. Just getting things out of the way, the emotional parts, I'm not going to put up any images of it because official released images from the movie itself are not online yet, and I don't want anything to be copywritten in my review. But yeah, there is loss, there's a lot of sadness, but there's also joy and excitement. But part of that sadness is the loss of Tom Holland's Peter Parker's Aunt May. Now, me personally, myself, I didn't feel that emotional when Aunt May died, when she passed away. And when she gave those words to Tom Holland's Peter Parker, "With great power comes great responsibility," something didn't feel right for me. It felt like it was just pushed in here so that this Spider-Man can finally hear those words, since we never heard it from Uncle Ben himself. This scene, particular to me, it didn't hold that much emotion because there was never a connection that I had with this Aunt May. It felt like in this movie alone, they finally started making her, be more in Peter's life, actually having the feast organization running. They're trying to give her more importance. When she did have importance in the previous ones, don't get me wrong, it's just I never had that attachment to her character like I did in the other Spider-Man films. So yes, unfortunately, when that scene did hit, I didn't feel as much for her character as everybody else in the theater, or as much as I expected I would. But I did feel for Peter, And I did feel for poor Happy. Happy just wants to be with her. He wants to be happy with her. So I felt for those two characters for sure. With the emotions that they brought, their acting abilities, they're the ones that sold me in the scene to actually make me feel like, oh my gosh, this is hurting them. It's hurting them so much. Not only did this version of Peter Parker lose his Uncle Ben, but now he lost his Aunt May. But I did, start having those thoughts of, wow, they really did brush over Uncle Ben in a hole. I mean, basically, Aunt May is Uncle Ben giving him those words of wisdom. And then we cut to the rooftop scene on top of the school, and this version of Peter Parker, MCU Peter Parker, is introduced to the other two Spider-Men, and they share their stories with each other, and it was heartbreaking. That's when I felt emotional. That's where my eyes started getting all teary. Not only from them actually coming out in the movie, but from their stories that they bring to this Peter Parker, talking to him and empathizing with him. When these three Spider-Men were on screen together with Andrew and Tobey and Tom, when all of them were on screen together, the chemistry just flowed. Everything felt so fresh and so natural. It almost feels like these scenes were improvised and the directors of the film just let them talk and let them have at it. And this is what they brought to the table. It was just that great. Again, everybody, I just wish I can experience this for the first time all over again. I wish every time I see this film, all the reactions from everybody in the theater are exactly the same, up at the same hype level that they were, with everybody cheering in the theaters. I want this to be the experience for this movie all the time. This Spider-Man movie has made its way up to one of my favorite Spider-Man films of all time, and I love that so much, and I love the fact that it includes these other iterations of Spider-Man, the original iterations of Spider-Man as well. Now, as I was talking about the loss of Aunt May in this film, it is all the fault of the William Dafoe's portrayal of the Green Goblin. He is the reason that this Peter Parker lost his Aunt May, and now Peter Parker is rageful and he wants to rip this Green Goblin to shreds. So when we're at the finale, the final battle, and everything is done, they've taken out all of the other supervillains, they cured them, they're no longer a threat to them, there's only one that remains, and that's William Dafoe's Green Goblin. He throws his pumpkin bombs. He starts wreaking havoc for everybody. He breaks the magical spell that Doctor Strange tried to contain, and he just ripped open the multiverse, the reality, because that spell is now broken, and everything needs to be fixed again with a new spell, which is the reason why at the end of the movie everybody forgets that Peter Parker is even Peter Parker entirely. But anyways, I'll touch on that in a little bit. When Doctor Strange is throwing his pumpkin bombs, he destroys the entire scaffolding, all the structures that were holding up that shield, that Captain America shield on Lady Liberty. So when that comes crashing down, people start falling. Ned falls, MJ falls, and Tom tries to catch him. He lunges himself forward and he tries to catch MJ. And we see this scene in the trailers itself where their hands are about to touch. But then here in the movie, we get that extra part where the Green Goblin swoops in and hits Tom Holland Spider-Man with a glider, not allowing him to save MJ. So she continues to fall. But then Andrew has his redemption and he comes lunging himself forward and he catches her. But man, the emotions rushing through when he realizes that he redeemed himself. He caught MJ. He caught this Peter Parker's version of Gwen Stacy. He caught her. He saved her. Andrew Garfield's acting right here in this scene was phenomenal. You could see the emotions in him, and it just worked so well that everybody in the theater felt the emotions that this guy saved her. Now I'm just in my head right now. I'm trying to go scene by scene, trying to relive everything. But now we're at the point where Tom Holland is having his face-off against Green Goblin again for the second time, but this time he is not holding back. He is rageful. He is ready to kill Green Goblin. He beats him up, and when he has the Green Goblin down, he reaches for the glider, and he's ready to impale the Goblin again to kill him. But then Tobey Maguire Spider-Man jumps in, and he just holds that glider right there. And he's like, no, boy, you ain't doing this. You're not breaking who you are. We don't do this. Spider-Man does not do this. And my thoughts in my head were like, why? Why the heck are you turning your back to the Green Goblin, Tobey? Do not turn your back to the Goblin. I don't care if he's knocked down. This is the Green Goblin, man. He's going to do something to you. But the scene plays out long enough where Tom Holland's Peter Parker understands and eventually drops the glider. And Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker is looking at MCU Peter Parker, but then you just hear the stab go through Tobey Maguire, and I yelled in the theater, "No! No, you can't do this!" I thought for a fact that they were going to kill Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, but no, they played it off with him saying that he's been stabbed before, and they made a joke about it, and it worked so well. This is one of the ones that worked really well, among many others. Many others of the jokes in this movie worked really well, but this one was the funniest because he's like, "Nah, I've been stabbed before," and the communication that the Spider-Man had with each other was just awesome. I loved it so much. Even doing this review and saying all of these things all over, and I just have the biggest smile on my face, and I'm pretty sure you could hear my smile through the microphone because my words are probably slurred, and I'm probably out of breath from the excitement from this movie. To me, this movie, and I'm pretty sure to many others, this is my endgame movie. This blows any other MCU movie out of the water. I mean, yeah, it's great to see Captain America wielding Mjolnir. It's great to see Iron Man and all the other Avengers fighting against Thanos. But this, having 3 live-action Spider-Man, my favorite Tobey Maguire portrayal of Spider-Man here on screen, along with Andrew Garfield Spider-Man and Tom Holland Spider-Man, all of them running together, jumping off of Lady Liberty and going, "Woohoo!" That's fantastic, man. I mean, you can't make anything better than that. That's just awesome. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Now I'm just going over my favorite parts of the movie entirely, which is fine. This is the point of this whole review. But now we get to the part, oh yeah, everything's done. Doctor Strange is trying to fix everything. He's trying to find a way to contain the multiverse from breaking, but as the cracks shatter their universe apart, you see the silhouette figures of other Spider-Man villains coming through because the spell got rebounded. It got flipped in a way. Instead of everybody forgetting who Peter Parker is, the spell turned into bringing everybody who knows that Peter Parker Spider-Man into their universe. But I don't really understand why Electro was there. He never really knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man in The Amazing Spider-Man Part 2. But, we have Electro in this film, and he did fantastic. He was a standout villain in this film, so I'm not even going to complain about that one. But amongst the silhouettes in the sky, in the shattered crackings of the multiverse, you see silhouettes of the Rhino, of Black Cat, of Kraven the Hunter, of Scorpion, others that I didn't get a chance to see even the second time that I watched this film, but all the silhouettes were there, and I think that's just leading to the villains that we're going to see later on in Tom Holland's MCU Spider-Man movies. Finishing up, I'm wrapping up, I'm trying to get as much out there as I can, all of my favorite parts. Then we get to the mid-credit scene. There's 2 ending credit scenes to this movie. The first is the mid-credit scene, which is an actual, tease to what is to come later on in Peter Parker's future in the MCU. And the second one is basically a trailer of Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness in his next film. But I want to talk about the mid-credit scene specifically because we have Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock and Venom somewhere on a vacation island or whatever, and they're trying to understand this universe. They're trying to figure out, okay, so in this universe is just full of superpowered people, of superheroes. And then in the midst of trying to figure everything out, he says maybe they should go pay Spider-Man a visit so that they could try to figure out what the heck is going on. But while all of that is happening, they start fading away and they get sent back to the universe along with everybody else in the movie. They start getting sent back to the universe. But as soon as they leave, the camera zooms into the table and there is a drop of black goo that starts moving. So there is a piece of symbiote here in the MCU now for Peter Parker, hopefully for Peter Parker and not for this version of Flash Thompson. But yes, there is a symbiote now in the MCU. Another person that I was questioning why are they here is Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock and Venom, because they don't know who the heck Peter Parker is. But in Venom Let There Be Carnage, for their end credit scene, Venom was explaining to Eddie that he shares, their alien race shares 80 million, billion, whatever information memories across universes. So I think the only reason why Venom recognized Spider-Man and Peter Parker is because he does know who Spider-Man is. He does know who Peter Parker is. This Venom has shared information with this Venom from Spider-Man 3. That is the only possible thing I could think of, and it makes the most sense to me, and I'm pretty sure it's going to make sense to all of you out there who are into this putting of theories together and everything like that. But anyways, everybody, this final theory of mine is going to go ahead and do it for my spoiler review here. Now, I know it wasn't much of a spoiler review. It was mainly me just talking about my favorite parts of the movie. But I mean, hey, all of it was spoilers in the movie. You have to watch it to know what I'm talking about, right? But anyways, everybody, that's going to go ahead and do it for my Spider-Man No Way Home spoiler review. I hope you all enjoyed it so much. I hope you share my excitement and love for this film. And before I end this, I just really hope, I doubt that Marvel is going to watch my videos or anything out there, but if anybody of you that watch my videos and are close with Marvel or are good on social media and can get things going, this cannot be the last time we see Tobey Maguire Spider-Man or Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. This just brought back a whole thing where we need to see the rest of their story. We need to see what happens to them when they go back to their fixed realities now. This cannot be the last time we see their characters. I doubt Marvel would do that. I'm pretty sure they're smart enough to understand that bringing these characters in is going to draw more attention to their character as well. So, this cannot be the last time that we see their characters, and I'm holding on to that. I'm holding on to that hope that we will see them again. Anyways, everybody, that's going to go ahead and do it for my review, my spoiler review. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like down below. Share your comments after you've seen the movie. I want to know what your thoughts are, what your theater experience was like. I want to know what your favorite part of the film was. Most importantly, do not forget to subscribe and join the Zero Nation. I'll catch you all in the next episode. Later!